Millionaire CEO storms into hospital angry, freezes as he sees his ex-wife giving birth to his triplets. He was a ruthless millionaire CEO. She was just a cleaner. One fiery red dress turned her into the star of his show and the center of his obsession. They married quickly, but betrayal tore her away, and she vanished while carrying his child. Now, alone and desperate, he'll do anything to find her, and the twins she's protecting. Hey, beautiful souls. I'm your storyteller, James. Stay with me as I unravel a tale of love, betrayal, and heart-shattering secrets. Trust me, you won't believe what happens next. Watch closely. This story will grip your heart from the very first moment. Backstage at the biggest fashion show of the season, tension curled in the air like smoke. Assistants ran in every direction, makeup artists scrambled, and the heavy fragrance of hairspray mixed with panic. The show was minutes away from starting, and everything depended on perfection. But perfection shattered the moment the stage manager ran toward Aidan Blackwell, eyes wide, breath shaking. "Sir, she's not here. The model. She's not coming." Aidan's jaw clenched so hard the muscles in his neck tightened like wires. At 32, he was the youngest and most feared CEO in the fashion world. His empire was built on precision, on control, on an iron command that bent the industry toward him. Tonight, it was slipping. People froze around him as his anger quietly cut through the room. He didn't shout, not yet. The silence was worse. "How?" he said slowly. "Does the face of my collection disappear 5 minutes before showtime?" No one answered. No one dared. Aidan exhaled once, sharp and cold. Failure in his world was unacceptable. Cameras were outside, the press waiting, investors watching. One ruined show could shape headlines. Headlines shaped stocks. Stocks shaped empires. He scanned the room, looking for solutions where none existed. Then his creative director pointed toward a corner, voice trembling. There's one girl left backstage, the cleaner. She's the only one with the same measurements." Aidan's eyes followed the direction. And there she was. Maya. She wasn't dressed for a runway. She wasn't prepared for an audience. She had been mopping the floor minutes ago, the handle still leaning against the wall. She stood quietly, almost blending into the background, as if she didn't believe she belonged anywhere near this world. Her brown skin glowed softly under the backstage lights. Her face was gentle, innocent, framed by simple braids falling over her shoulders. She avoided Aidan's gaze, eyes lowered, unsure, unaware of the chaos swirling around her. Aidan stepped toward her. The crew held their breath. "Maya," he said, his tone dropping the sharpness it held moments ago. "Look at me." Slowly she did. Her eyes were warm, deep, steady, the kind that made a man forget he had a reputation to protect. "You're the same size as the missing model," he said. "We need you." Maya blinked, stunned. "Sir, I clean. I am not—" "There's no time," Aidan cut in, but not cruelly, just desperate. "You won't be alone. They'll guide you. It's either you or the show collapses." Maya hesitated. She touched the braid falling over her shoulder. She looked down at her uniform, stained with work. Uncertainty wrapped itself around her like a shadow. "I don't want to embarrass the company," she whispered. Aidan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You won't. I've seen people break under pressure. You don't look like you break." Her cheeks warmed, but she didn't answer. The team swarmed her, leading her away. Aidan watched as they slipped her into the fiery red couture gown that had taken 6 months to design. A masterpiece, bold, dramatic, sculpted for a woman who could carry fire without burning. When they finished her makeup, black smoky eyes, red lipstick, skin glowing under powders, Maya no longer looked like someone who cleaned floors. She looked like someone who could rule a room. The music outside began. The crowd murmured. The lights dimmed. The show had started. Aiden stood at the edge of the curtains, heart pounding in a way he didn't recognize. He wasn't supposed to feel this. Not for an employee. Not for anyone. The announcer called the opening model, Maya. The spotlight hit the runway. She stepped out, and the world seemed to inhale. Her red dress caught the light, shimmering like molten silk. Her braided hair swung gently with each step, framing a face transformed by confidence she didn't know she possessed. The red lipstick made her look fearless. The smoky eyes made her look untouchable. Aiden's breath vanished, just disappeared. The audience gasped, truly gasped, as if witnessing something they hadn't expected. Photographers scrambled for angles. Critics leaned forward. Maya walked with the grace of someone who didn't know she was extraordinary, and that made her even more extraordinary. She didn't rush. She didn't stumble. She owned the stage with a quiet power that stunned the room. Aiden couldn't look away. This wasn't luck. This wasn't desperation. This was something else. Something raw, something electric, something that made even a ruthless CEO feel the ground shift beneath him. Maya turned at the end of the runway, the dress flaring like a flame. She lifted her chin. Her eyes flicked toward the backstage area where Aiden stood. For a heartbeat, they locked eyes, and Aiden felt something tug inside him, something he had caged for years. When she came backstage after the final bow, applause thundered through the hall. Staff rushed toward her, congratulating her, some hugging her, some crying in relief. But Maya looked only at Aiden. He walked toward her slowly, every step deliberate, every breath heavy. His voice softened into something he barely recognized. "You saved my show," he said. "You saved more than that." Maya swallowed, unsure what to say. Her hands shook slightly. "I just did what you asked." "No," Aiden murmured. "You did much more." For the first time that night, something like gratitude, something vulnerable, appeared in his eyes. He wasn't speaking as the CEO now. He wasn't speaking as the legend of the fashion world. He was speaking as a man undone. He leaned closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Let me thank you properly." Her breath hitched. "Sir." "How?" Aiden whispered. "Have dinner with me tonight." And from a dark corner backstage, a camera clicked, someone secretly snapping photos of them together. Maya froze when Aiden's words brushed against her ear. "Have dinner with me tonight." For a moment she wondered if she'd misheard. Her pulse thudded so hard she felt it in her fingertips. The hallway behind the stage buzzed with noise, yet the world around her faded until only his voice remained. Her throat tightened. "Sir, I don't think that's a good idea." Aiden didn't look offended. If anything, a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, almost like he expected her answer, almost like he found it refreshing. "I'm not asking as your boss," he said quietly. "I'm asking as a man who saw something tonight he can't forget." Maya stepped back slightly, needing air that her lungs refused to take in. She pulled her shawl around her shoulders, suddenly wishing she weren't still in a gown that made her feel too seen. "Aiden, men like you." She stopped, shaking her head. "You don't see girls like me. You see a moment. You see convenience. But you don't see me." Aiden wasn't used to being told no. The surprise in his eyes flickered before settling into something more intense. "Maya, if you truly believe I see you as a moment, then come to dinner and prove me wrong." His persistence made her breath tremble. "I'm not someone who fits into your world," she whispered. "Maybe my world needs someone who doesn't fit," he said. The honesty in his voice disarmed her more than his charm ever could. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She simply walked away with her heart pounding and Aiden watching her like a man who had already made up his mind not to give up. That night she returned to her small apartment, still smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. She placed her employee badge on the table, sat on the edge of her bed, and stared at the message flashing on her cracked phone screen. Aiden, dinner at 8. If you don't want to come, I'll understand, but I'll be waiting. He didn't send a second message. He didn't pressure her. He just waited. No man had ever done that for her. She closed her eyes. The world kept telling her to be careful, but her heart whispered something softer. What if he isn't like the others? At 8:17, she walked into the restaurant. Aiden stood the second he saw her. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. His gaze swept over her like he was memorizing her all over again. He didn't comment on her simple dress, her modest shoes, or her nervous hands. He just said, "I'm glad you came." He spoke to her the entire dinner, not at her. He asked about her childhood, her dreams, her fears, her comfort foods, her favorite colors. He listened with something like hunger. She could almost see his armor, his CEO steel, softening around the edges. She tried to resist him. She tried to keep her walls steady. But he wasn't ruthless tonight. He wasn't cold. He was human. And that was more dangerous. One dinner became two. Two became five. Five became nights where conversation drifted into whispered confessions in quiet hotel lounges where Aiden revealed pieces of himself he never let the world see. One night, with the city lights glowing behind him, he told her, "No one has ever made me feel small, except you." Her breath hitched. "I didn't mean to." "You didn't have to." His voice was low, almost raspy. "You just walked into my life and reminded me I'm still capable of wanting something real." She looked away, afraid of the intensity in his eyes. Their connection grew slowly, like fire creeping toward dry wood, waiting for the moment everything would blaze. They didn't rush. They didn't label anything. But the pull between them deepened every night. People at the company began to whisper. Some smirked, some envied. Some hated the idea of a cleaner catching the CEO's eye. But Aiden didn't care. When he looked at Maya, the world blurred, and when Maya walked beside him, she felt, for the first time in years, like she wasn't invisible. Weeks later, in Aiden's penthouse, Maya stood by the window, admiring the skyline while he wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. His scent clung to the fabric, warm, rich, unsettling in the sweetest way. "I don't know what we're doing," she admitted softly. Aiden stepped behind her, close enough that his breath brushed her neck. "We're figuring it out," he murmured. Something in his tone made her chest tighten. She was falling. She felt it. And the terrifying part was, she wasn't sure she wanted to stop. While he stepped out to take a call, she wandered through the room, touching nothing but absorbing everything. The neatness, the silence, the warmth he only showed her. Her fingers grazed the edge of his nightstand. A drawer was slightly open. She didn't mean to look, but it caught her eye. Inside was a velvet box, a diamond ring. But what made her heart freeze wasn't the ring. It was the initials engraved inside the band. Not hers, another woman's. Maya's breath shattered as she stared at the ring. A diamond meant for someone else, hidden in Aiden's drawer. Maya stood frozen, the velvet box trembling between her fingers. The ring caught the light, beautiful, brilliant, dangerously perfect. But the initials carved inside burned hotter than any diamond ever could. A woman's initials, not hers. Someone Aiden had chosen at some point. Maybe loved, maybe promised something to. Someone he had not erased. Her throat felt tight, her pulse sharp and uneven. She placed the box back exactly where she found it and stepped away as if the drawer itself might swallow her whole. When Aiden returned to the room, she pretended to be absorbed by the skyline again. But he noticed something in her eyes, a stiffness, a distance. He didn't ask, and she didn't tell, and that silence became the first crack. Days passed with an undercurrent she couldn't shake. Aiden treated her with the same gentleness, the same attention, the same quiet warmth that drew her to him in the first place. But that ring sat like a weight in the back of her mind. Each time he smiled at her, she wondered, was that smile once meant for someone else? He noticed her withdrawing, though she tried to hide it. One evening he caught her wrist gently. "Maya," he murmured, "you feel far away." She forced a smile. "I'm not. Just tired." He didn't push, but his eyes told her he knew there was something she wasn't saying. A week later, Aiden invited her to a private event. He didn't say what it was. His voice carried that quiet intensity she'd come to recognize, the one that meant he was planning something he wouldn't explain until the last moment. When they arrived backstage of the same runway she once walked, to save the show, Maya felt the air shift around her. The memory of that night lived in the walls, the panic, the lights, the way everything changed the moment she stepped onto the stage. "Aiden, why are we here?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he lifted a hand, signaling someone. The lights dimmed, the music softened. The runway fell silent. Maya looked around, confused, until Aiden stepped onto the stage himself, something he never did. CEOs didn't walk runways. But tonight he did for her. He turned to face her, his expression steady, his chest rising with a slow breath. "Maya," he called, voice echoing through the empty hall. "Come here." Her feet carried her forward before her mind could object. She climbed the small steps, heart pounding, unsure, shaken by the softness in his eyes. When she stood in front of him, Aiden reached into his coat. Maya's breath caught, not because she knew what he was pulling out, but because she desperately didn't know which ring would appear. But when he opened the box, she realized this one was different. A new ring, clean, untouched. No initials, no shadows. He knelt, and the world stilled. "Maya," he said quietly, "you walked into my life when everything was falling apart, and somehow you made me want to become someone better than the man I'd been." Her eyes burned. "I can't promise you I'm perfect, but I can promise you this. Every choice from this moment on, I want it to be with you." She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "Aiden, why here?" "Because this is where you saved me," he said. "This is where everything began." The sincerity in his tone shook her more than the moment itself. The ring that haunted her still lingered at the edges of her thoughts, but this gesture, this raw vulnerability, pulled her back toward him. He held up the ring. "Maya, will you marry me?" Her breath trembled. Her past screamed caution. Her heart whispered yes. And slowly, she nodded. Aiden exhaled, relieved, almost undone. He slid the ring onto her finger, stood, and pulled her into a tight, warm embrace. For a moment, she let herself believe that love, this kind of love, could erase shadows. Their wedding happened quietly, intimately. No flashing cameras, no loud crowds, just close friends, soft lights, and a vow Aiden whispered against her trembling hands. "You are the only beginning I want." Maya tried to forget the ring she found, the ghost of someone before her, but it lingered in the corners of her mind like a warning she didn't know how to interpret. Still, she held Aiden's hand tightly through the ceremony. Still, she let herself fall deeper. Because when he looked at her, there was no space for doubt. Not yet. That night, wrapped in the soft glow of their suite, Aiden carried her across the threshold, laughing softly when she flushed at the gesture. He kissed her forehead, her cheek, her hands, the tenderness overwhelming her senses. For a moment, everything felt right. Everything felt theirs. Maya walked toward the mirror to unpin her hair, the white dress flowing around her like a breath of air. Her heart felt full in a way she couldn't explain. Behind her, Aiden's phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. She turned slightly. Aiden reached for it quickly, too quickly, and angled the screen away from her before she could glimpse the name. Her stomach tightened. Aiden, who is it? She asked softly. He hesitated, just long enough for fear to stir inside her. Then he forced a smile. No one important, just work. But the screen kept lighting up, and he kept hiding it. Her hand fell to her side. The shadows she'd tried to ignore began creeping back into the room. Aiden's phone buzzed again, and this time he turned the screen away so fast it made Maya's heart drop. Maya lay still beside him. Aiden slipped his phone into the drawer, as if burying a secret. He exhaled and turned to her, forcing a soft smile. "Let's forget everything tonight," he whispered. She nodded, though her stomach curled. His arms wrapped around her, warm and protective. But her mind kept circling that buzzing phone, and the way his eyes had darkened, haunted, restless. Yet, somehow, the days that followed unfolded like a dream. Maya almost convinced herself that the unease she felt was just exhaustion, because Aiden changed, or maybe he simply showed her a version of himself she wished she had met earlier. He became gentle. He became attentive. He became the kind of man who memorized the way her breath hitched when he kissed her shoulder. He took her hand everywhere they went. He told people proudly, "My wife." He watched her like she was the only fragile piece of art in a room full of hands. 4 months passed in a blur of tenderness. Aiden would brush her hair behind her ear during breakfast. He would pull her onto his lap during late-night movies. He would hold her waist when she walked, as if something invisible might try to steal her away. He was obsessed, the dangerous kind of obsessed that felt flattering and frightening at the same time. At night, he held her like a man who feared losing everything he loved. His kisses were slow, heavy, full of a fire that made her forget every doubt. His voice turned soft when he whispered her name against her neck. He treated her like a treasure he wanted to protect from the world, but the shadows never stopped moving, because the calls continued. And every time they did, Aiden changed. He would stiffen. He would step away. He would lower his voice. He would walk out to the balcony, shoulders tense. Maya pretended to be asleep sometimes just to listen, but she never caught more than pieces. A sigh, a name she didn't recognize, a lock clicking, a nervous swallow. She noticed the employees change too. People whispered when she entered a room. Conversations stopped abruptly. 2 stylists exchanged glances when Aiden passed by. The receptionist gave Maya a look, pity mixed with fear. But nobody ever explained. Nobody ever dared. Aiden's protectiveness in public increased. His hand stayed glued to hers. If someone stared at her too long, he pulled her closer. If someone talked to her for too long, his jaw clenched. She once laughed at a waiter's joke. Aiden's arm circled her waist like a warning, possessive, intense, like he was trying to keep her tied to him. Yet, at night, when the lights dimmed, he softened again. He kissed her like she was the only moment that mattered. He worshipped her with every touch. And Maya let herself believe that love could overpower secrets, until the messages increased, until the phone never stopped vibrating, until Aiden's mood began to swing between desperate love and nervous agitation. She tried to ask. He always kissed her forehead and murmured, "It's nothing, my love." But his eyes told a different story. His eyes begged her not to dig. One evening, she walked into the office earlier than expected. 2 assistants froze. Their eyes widened. One whispered, "Does she know?" The other shook her head sharply. Maya pretended not to hear, but the words clung to her like thorns. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The storm began quietly. Aiden came home late, later than ever. His tie loosened, his shirt crumpled, his face pale. He kissed her cheek distractedly. Then he reached for his phone again. Always that phone. always the same buzzing that twisted her heart. Maya walked to the kitchen to breathe. Her chest felt heavy. Her palms felt cold. Her instincts screamed, "You're losing him. Or maybe you never had all of him." She returned to the hallway just as Aiden slipped into his study. He closed the door halfway. Not fully, just enough to make him feel hidden. Maya stood still. Her pulse quickened. Aiden's voice was low, strained, impatient. She leaned closer, careful not to make a sound. For a moment, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the AC. Then his voice sharpened. A voice she had never heard from him before. Cold, urgent, cornered. She leaned closer, breath trembling. Maya froze as she heard Aiden say, "Fine, meet me tonight. My wife doesn't have to know." Maya's hands shook as she clutched the edge of the balcony railing outside her apartment. The city lights blurred beneath her tears, streaking gold and red like molten fire. She had no plan, no clear thought. Only the sharp, stabbing pain of a truth she wasn't ready to face. Aiden's words echoed in her mind. "Meet me tonight. My wife doesn't have to know." Her chest tightened. The rhythm of her heart matched the pace of her fear. Fear she had never imagined she would feel for the man she had chosen to trust. She had wanted to believe in him. She had wanted to trust him with her heart, with her soul, with the small secret of the life growing inside her. And yet, the lie had been right there. She followed him quietly, staying in the shadows of the street. The heels she had worn that evening clicked softly against the pavement. Her breath came in shallow bursts, like she was afraid the night itself would hear her. Her eyes traced every movement, every turn, every light of his expensive car parked near the corner. She saw him step out, sleek, confident, unaware. And then, the other woman appeared. The same woman whose initials had been carved into that ring. The ring that had haunted her thoughts for weeks. She was tall, elegant, effortless in the way she moved. She leaned into him, fingers brushing his chest lightly, whispering something Maya could not hear. And he didn't push her away. The world collapsed. Maya's knees almost buckled. Her fingers gripped the railing so tightly she could feel the paint cut into her skin. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to shed openly. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted the earth to swallow her whole. And yet she stayed, because she had to know. Aiden laughed, a soft sound, intimate, a sound she had thought belonged only to her. The brush of his hand against her face, the tilt of his head, the warmth of his chest. All stolen by another. Maya felt hollow inside. Her stomach churned, unsteady. She was already aware of the tiny life within her. Already aware of the consequences of trust, love, and devotion. And in that moment, every ounce of hope shattered. She left before they noticed her. Footsteps silent, heart heavy, mind numb. Every beat of her heart screamed betrayal louder than the city beneath her. Back in the apartment, she didn't wait for an explanation. She didn't look for excuses. She packed a single bag. Not clothes, not shoes, not toiletries. Just enough to leave a physical imprint on the world they had shared. Aiden returned hours later. The door clicked open. Her apartment was empty. Her shoes were gone. The soft echo of her absence filled every corner. He called her name once, twice, 100 times. No response, only silence. When she finally confronted him the following evening, her voice was steady, cold, but inside she was breaking into pieces. "Aiden, what was that? Who was she?" His expression shifted. Shock first, then confusion, then anger. "It's not what it looks like," he shouted, voice loud enough to startle the neighbors. It's not what it looks like." She stared at him, unmoving, and the truth in her eyes cut deeper than his words ever could. The man she had trusted, the man who had whispered love into her ears, had betrayed her. The betrayal wasn't just a night. It wasn't just a secret meeting. It was a rupture, a violent crack in the foundation of everything they had built. "I trusted you," Maya said, her voice shaking but firm. "I believed in you, and you—" Her words caught in her throat. The tears she had been holding back now welled up, unrelenting. Her fists clenched. Her legs refused to hold her still. She left him. Walking out, every step was agony. Every step was determination. Every step was the silent scream of a woman who refused to be erased, even by the man she had once loved. The night swallowed her as she moved through the streets. She didn't look back. She didn't stop. The world around her was a blur of lights, sounds, and shadows. But she carried one thing with her, the life within her, quiet and small, yet strong enough to keep her moving. She found refuge in a small hotel room she had reserved under a false name. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling over her belly. Her stomach tightened, the baby moving softly, unaware of the storm that had erupted in their world. She whispered a quiet apology for dragging a tiny life into the chaos. She cried into the dark, letting grief wash over her like a tide she couldn't resist. Every sob was for herself. Every shudder was for the broken trust. Every tear was for the love she thought would last a lifetime. Meanwhile, Aiden stayed in his apartment, pacing, calling, messaging. But Maya was gone. He couldn't find her. He couldn't touch her. He couldn't fix the wrong that had happened, at least not tonight. He didn't know she had seen him, didn't know she had witnessed what she believed to be the truth. And he didn't know that in that single night, the fragile world they had built together had crumbled to dust. The next morning arrived with a dull, heavy sun. The city moved on as if nothing had happened. But inside Aiden's luxurious apartment, the air felt thick, oppressive. His assistant knocked softly and handed him a single envelope, thick and official-looking. He tore it open with trembling fingers. Inside, crisp papers announced a reality he couldn't escape. Divorce papers, signed, filed, with no explanation. Aiden sank into the chair, the city lights reflecting in his glassy eyes. The room was silent, the phones buzzed, the world continued. But for him, everything had stopped. Maya's footsteps echoed in his mind, her soft laugh, her gentle voice, her presence he had taken for granted. All gone. And in the quiet, the life she carried, his unborn child, was a secret he hadn't even known existed yet. Aiden stared at the divorce papers, hands shaking, heart pounding, whispering to himself, "Where did I lose her?" Aiden sank into the leather chair, the divorce papers crumpled in his hands. The room spun around him. The city outside glittered as usual, indifferent to his devastation. Nothing moved, nothing mattered. He could barely breathe. The weight of every mistake pressed down like steel. Maya, gone. And he hadn't even realized what he had lost. He called her, over and over. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Every number he could remember, every friend, every colleague, every address. He chased them all. Nothing. Silence. Panic clawed at him, sharp and raw. He left the penthouse, car roaring through the streets, hotels, restaurants, cafes, every place she might have gone. He checked. The doorman didn't recognize her. The staff shrugged. No one had seen her. His chest heaved. Aiden, the ruthless CEO, the man whose name ruled magazines and billboards, was lost. Lost in the streets, in the lights, in the emptiness. His suit felt like a cage. His tie choked him more than ever before. Hours turned into nights. He walked city blocks, retracing the paths they had taken together. Every memory haunted him. The first dinner, her laugh, the way she leaned against him during the rain, every soft whisper, every glance. And then the anger came. Not at her, at himself, at the choices he had made, the distractions, the lies, the betrayals he had allowed. He kicked a trash can, the sound echoing into the cold night. He swore. He screamed. Nothing would bring her back. Back at his mansion, the weight of the chase finally broke him. He slammed the front door behind him, stormed through the halls. Every picture, every memory, every token of their life together became a target for his rage. He grabbed the framed wedding photo from the mantel. Maya smiled at him from it, radiant, trusting, unaware of the storm brewing in his heart. His hands shook. He hurled the frame to the floor. Glass shattered, wood splintered. The smile he loved, the life he had destroyed. It lay in pieces. Aiden fell to the floor, chest heaving, knees slick with sweat. He didn't cry. He screamed in silence. The man who had controlled everything, who had bent the fashion world to his will, had no control over the one thing that mattered most. Meanwhile, miles away, Maya lived a different kind of war. Her apartment was tiny, cramped, filled with the smell of old floors and harsh soap. She carried herself with careful precision, aware of every passerby, every stranger, every shadow that could betray her presence. Every morning she woke to the life inside her, reminding her she was not alone. Two tiny heartbeats in her chest, unseen and vulnerable. She worked small jobs, cleaning offices, waiting tables, delivering packages, anything that kept food on her plate and a roof over their heads. No one knew her real name. No one knew her past. No one knew she had once been the center of a billionaire's life. No one knew she carried his children. Each night she lay in the dark, tracing her belly with trembling fingers, whispering to the little lives growing within her. "I will protect you," she breathed. "I will keep you safe." She shivered in the cold. The city noises outside pricked at her nerves like fingernails. But she refused to cry in front of strangers. She refused to be seen as weak. Yet every memory of Aiden clawed at her heart. Every word, every kiss, every moment haunted her. She loved him still, even as he had betrayed her, even as she had left him. And now, even in her solitude, danger was creeping closer. A knock came at her door one rainy evening. She froze. Her pulse shot up. No one knew where she was. No one should. She peeked through the peephole. No one stood there. Only a small envelope lay on the welcome mat. She bent down, fingers trembling. The envelope was thick, heavy, ominous. No return address. No name. She tore it open carefully. Inside, a photograph. Aiden, kissing the woman whose initials had haunted her weeks ago. The woman from the first ring. The same woman. Her hands went numb. Her stomach twisted, sharper than the baby growing inside her. The betrayal she had tried to outrun had followed her. She dropped the photo on the floor. Rain tapped against the windows, echoing the fury in her chest. She sank to the floor, heart hammering. The life she had built in secrecy, the careful walls she had raised, they were crumbling. Tears fell unbidden. She touched her belly, feeling the little lives inside her stir. They were innocent. They had no part in this. But the shadow of Aiden's past, of his secrets, had found her. The photo burned into her memory. Aiden laughing, smiling, a kiss shared with the woman she had once feared, once discovered, once hated. And now, the image was proof. Proof that nothing had truly changed. She wrapped her arms around herself. Her body shook. Her heart broke. But she would not be found. She would not falter. Not yet. Not until she was ready. Maya stared at the photograph, tears blurring her vision, and whispered to the silence, "He's with her. But he doesn't know I'm carrying his children." Maya's hands shook as she stared at the photo. The room felt suffocating. Every shadow in the corners seemed to creep closer. The life she had built, fragile and hidden, felt like it might shatter in a single instant. The photograph lay on the floor, damp from the rainwater seeping through the cracked window frame. Her fingers trembled as she touched her belly. The babies moved inside her, tiny fists and soft kicks that were both comfort and reminder. She whispered to them, barely audible above the storm outside. "I'm so sorry. I didn't ask for this, but I'll protect you. Always." Hours passed, rain lashing the streets outside. Maya tried to sleep, but every noise made her jump. The city roared, a living, breathing thing, indifferent to her fear. Her heart thudded in her chest, louder than the thunder. Lightning struck near the street, making her wince. Suddenly, a sharp pain cut through her abdomen. She gasped, clutching her stomach, falling to the floor. The babies kicked violently, responding to the sudden distress. Maya's breath came fast, ragged. The world spun. She tried to call for help, but her phone had died hours ago. Her vision blurred. Every step toward the door felt like moving through water. Finally, she stumbled outside, drenched, soaked to the bone, shivering violently. The storm whipped around her, cold, relentless, unforgiving. A taxi screeched to a stop nearby. The driver stared, confusion and concern in his eyes. Maya barely spoke, shivering. "Hospital, emergency, please," she croaked. Inside the hospital, nurses rushed her through the corridors, flashing lights, beeping monitors, sterile smells. Everything moved too fast. Maya's breath hitched as she was strapped to the bed. Doctors surrounded her, urgency in their eyes. "Twins," a doctor muttered. "We need to prepare for an emergency birth." Maya's hands gripped the sheets. Tears streaked her face as panic took hold. "Babies, please stay with me," she whispered, voice cracking. "I need you to be okay." Pain racked her body, sharp, relentless, consuming. Every contraction sent waves of fear through her, but also a fierce protective instinct. She focused on the tiny lives inside her. She would not let go. Meanwhile, across the city, Aiden sat in his office, staring at the divorce papers. Every thought of her haunted him. Every memory, the laughs, the kisses, the whispered promises, tormented him now. His phone rang, an unknown number flashing across the screen. He hesitated. Finally, he answered. "Hello?" His voice was low, wary, tense. The voice on the other end sent chills down his spine. "Your ex-wife, she's in the hospital." "It's life or death." Aiden froze. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. The room went silent. The city outside his window no longer existed. He didn't hear the ringing of his phone anymore. He didn't see the walls of his office, the skyline, the lights. All he could hear was that phrase. He ran. He left his office, his suit, his shoes, anything that slowed him down. The streets blurred beneath his car tires. Every red light, every honking horn, every pedestrian became invisible. Nothing mattered except her, and the thought of their children, his children, at risk. At the hospital, Maya moaned with every contraction. The babies were coming faster than expected. Doctors and nurses moved with precision, voices calm but urgent. Maya's grip on the bed sheets tore the fabric under her hands. She saw the first flash of light, felt the first cry. Her heart surged with fear and relief at once. "They're alive! They're alive!" she whispered, tears flowing freely. The second cry followed, smaller, weaker, but still a heartbeat in the world. Maya's knees buckled. She sobbed, holding herself over the tiny lives she had fought so hard to protect. "I love you so much," she whispered to them. Meanwhile, Aiden's car skidded through rain-soaked streets. He hadn't called anyone. He hadn't told anyone where he was going. All he knew was that Maya, the woman he had loved and lost, was in danger. His heart pounded violently. He arrived at the hospital, tires screeching to a halt. He bolted inside, adrenaline burning in his veins. "Where is she?" he shouted. Security guards stopped him, hands firm. "Sir, the patient doesn't want her husband near her. one said calmly but firmly. Aiden's hands shot up. What? No, I need to see her. The guard shook his head. She is stable, but she has requested privacy. Aiden's mind spun. Every second felt like hours. Every heartbeat tore him apart. The thought of her alone, in pain, bringing their children into the world without him, made something inside him shatter. He tried to push past the guards. They held firm. You don't understand. She's my wife. My children. The guard's face was unmoving. Sir, she requested it. Please wait. Aiden's chest heaved. Anger, panic, fear, regret. Every emotion collided inside him. The world outside the hospital seemed distant, meaningless. He could only think of her, and of the tiny lives inside her that he hadn't even met yet. Time crawled. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move. The hospital walls felt like a prison. Every second that passed felt like a betrayal he could not undo. He thought of the ring, the other woman, the divorce papers, the mistakes, the lies, the months of absence. All of it culminated here, in this hallway, waiting, powerless. He heard faint cries from somewhere beyond the doors. Tiny, fragile, trembling, but alive. His heart clenched. He imagined Maya's face, pale and tear-streaked, fighting to hold herself together. And he knew he had failed her. The security guards remained firm. You cannot go in, they said. Aiden's voice shook. Please, she's in pain. She needs me. But rules, hospital policy, and Maya's own wishes kept him out. He slumped against the wall, knuckles white, teeth grinding. The reality hit him harder than any betrayal. He had no control. Not over her, not over their children, not over the consequences of his actions. And in that moment, Aiden realized the life he had thought he owned, had thought he could dominate and command, was gone. Maya, the woman he had loved and hurt, had built something entirely her own. And he was standing outside the door. His chest heaved. Tears stung his eyes. The cries of the babies, muffled through the walls, pierced his soul. He wanted to be inside. He wanted to hold her. He wanted to beg for forgiveness. But he could do nothing. All he could do was wait. And pray. Aiden slammed his fist against the wall, voice breaking as he shouted into the empty hallway. Maya, please let me in. Please don't shut me out of our children's lives. Aiden pounded against the hospital doors, voice raw and hoarse. Maya! Maya! Open the door! His heart thumped violently, fear and desperation propelling every step. Security tried to restrain him, but he shoved past, adrenaline sharp in his veins. The fluorescent lights of the maternity ward flickered above. The sterile smell hit him like a wall. He ran down the corridor, eyes searching, desperate. There she was, Maya, pale and soaked with sweat, every muscle trembling as pain ripped through her. She screamed, gripping the bed rails, legs shaking. Aiden's chest tightened, all the anger, all the betrayal, all the hurt he had carried over months. It evaporated, replaced by raw, uncontrollable panic. He rushed to her side, grabbing her hand as if holding on to her could protect her from the world itself. Let go, she gasped, trying to pull away, eyes wide with shock and pain. But he held firm, knuckles white, tears brimming. I'm here, he whispered, voice breaking. I'm not going anywhere. Her breaths were ragged, shallow. The contractions came faster, harder, relentless. Aiden felt helpless, every second stretching unbearably long. He clutched her hand tighter, willing her to draw strength from him. I thought you betrayed me, she panted, voice trembling through tears. I saw you with her. Aiden shook his head violently. No. Maya, listen to me. Please, I never cheated on you. He swallowed hard, trying to steady his voice. She blackmailed me. She wanted the company. I was meeting her to end it, to make it stop. I never touched her like that. Maya's eyes widened. Her mind spun. The photograph, the phone calls, the divorce, everything she had believed, everything she had felt. Was it all a lie? Aiden cupped her face gently, trying to meet her gaze. I swear to you, Maya, I only ever wanted you. I only ever loved you. Tears streamed down her face, sweat mingling with grief, pain, and confusion. Her chest heaved, every breath a struggle. She didn't know what to believe. Every fiber of her being wanted to trust him. Every instinct screamed caution. The nurses urged them forward. Doctor needs to prepare for delivery, one said. Maya whimpered, gripping the rails, her body shaking violently. Aiden stayed by her side, murmuring encouragements, holding her hand as if he could tether her life and theirs together with sheer will. Stay with me, he whispered. Please, stay with me. I can't lose you now. She pressed her forehead against his shoulder, letting herself feel the warmth of his body, the steadying presence he offered. Her heart ached, torn between rage, fear, and a fragile hope. The monitors beeped steadily, tracking the twins' heartbeats. Aiden watched them obsessively, eyes flicking from the screens to her face. Every second felt eternal. Every breath she drew was a dagger through his chest. The contractions intensified. Maya screamed, tears spilling over, gripping Aiden's hand until it felt like her strength would break it. He held on, refusing to let go, whispering soft words of love, reassurance, and apology. Minutes bled into hours. The doctor's voice rang sharp and urgent. We need to push now. Maya gritted her teeth, sobbing through the pain. I can't. Yes, you can, Aiden urged, voice raw, hand clasped over hers. You're stronger than anything. You've carried them this far. You can do this. She pushed with all her strength. Pain and love collided inside her. Every nerve screamed, every muscle burned, and through the haze of agony, she felt their tiny presence, moving down, ready to enter the world. Aiden whispered, I'm here. You're not alone. You're not alone. Suddenly, the monitors flatlined. Silence filled the room. The beeping that had been constant stopped. Aiden's heart lurched. He froze, eyes wide, disbelief cutting through him like ice. No, no, he shouted, voice cracking. Stay with me. Please, don't leave me, not now. The doctor's voice was urgent, controlled, professional. Push, push. We need them out, now, Maya screamed, pushing through exhaustion, fear, and panic. Aiden held her, tears running freely down his face, fingers digging into hers. Every ounce of him prayed, every word a desperate plea to the universe. The nurses moved frantically. The room became chaos. Aiden watched, unable to interfere, but unwilling to look away. His heart beat in time with the frantic beeping, then the silence. He kissed her forehead, whispered apologies for all the months of pain, for all the mistakes, for the moments he had lost her trust. Maya gritted her teeth, sweat and tears mingling on her face. She felt them, his presence, steady and unwavering, giving her strength. A scream tore from her throat, high, powerful, raw. The first tiny life entered the world. Aiden gasped. He wanted to rush forward, to cradle the baby himself, but the doctor guided the infant toward the incubator. Another push, another scream. The second tiny heartbeat joined the first, fragile but alive. Maya collapsed back onto the bed, trembling, crying, exhausted. Aiden held her hand, pressing kisses to her wrist, her palm, murmuring words of love and relief. Tears streaked his face. He whispered, They're alive. They're okay. You did it. You saved them. But the fear lingered, raw, immediate. The monitors still glimmered, and the world felt fragile, suspended between relief and terror. Maya's body shook with the adrenaline crash, the pain, the exhaustion. Her eyes met Aiden's. She didn't know what to feel. Relief, fear, love, anger. Everything collided inside her. He brushed her hair back, voice trembling. "I never meant to hurt you. Never. Please, I swear, never." Maya's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to forgive. She wanted to hold him and never let go. But the ghosts of the past, the photograph, the blackmail, they haunted her even here, in this room of new life. The tiny cries of the twins echoed, a rhythm of hope and fragility. Aiden leaned closer, holding her hand tighter, whispering apologies and promises. And just as relief began to settle, the monitors wavered again. Maya gasped. Her heartbeat faltered. The beeping stuttered. Time slowed. Everything froze. The monitor flatlined completely. Aiden screamed, gripping Maya's hand with all his strength. "No, don't leave me. Stay with me. Both of you." Aiden's knees hit the floor, cold tiles pressing against his flesh, unfeeling beneath him. His hands clutched Maya's, trembling violently, white-knuckled and desperate. Tears ran freely down his face, mingling with sweat and the damp strands of hair plastered to his forehead. He sobbed, guttural, raw, a sound that seemed to shake the walls of the hospital. Every heartbeat screamed fear, regret, and longing. The babies cried, tiny, fragile sounds that should have brought joy. But in that moment, they felt like a cruel reminder of how close he had come to losing everything. He held them, one wrapped in red, one in green, against his chest. Their tiny bodies shook, wailing into the chaos of the room. He rocked them, whispering broken promises, his lips pressed against their delicate heads. "They're alive. Thank God. They're alive," he murmured. But his eyes never left Maya. She lay still, pale, monitors buzzing faintly, and he could not bear the thought of losing her. He had begged, pleaded, loved, and failed, and now the only thing that mattered was her breathing, her heartbeat, her life. Doctors and nurses moved with urgent precision, voices clipped, sterile. Machines beeped and whirred. Everything moved around him in slow motion, a distorted, cruel rhythm. He could hear fragments of conversation, words sliced from their context. Critical, pressure dropping, CPR, fluids. Aiden's hands shook as he held the twins closer. He kissed the top of their heads, tiny fingers curling around his own. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I failed her. I failed you. I failed us all." The room blurred. His tears dripped onto the hospital gown, soaking into the fabric. Doctors shouted instructions. Nurses prepared medications and monitored lines. Every second stretched endlessly. Aiden couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. Time lost meaning. The cries of the babies, the beeping monitors, the hum of fluorescent lights, all fused into a singular, unbearable agony. His chest heaved, sobs breaking free uncontrollably. "I will not let you go," he murmured to Maya. "I will not. Please, don't leave me." A nurse approached, eyes wide, her voice gentle but firm. "Sir, you need to step aside for just a moment. Let us do our work." He shook his head violently, tears spilling over his cheeks. "No, I'm not leaving her. I'll stay here. I'll hold her. I'll pray. I'll do anything." A doctor moved forward, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Sir, we need a clear space. The babies are safe, but we must focus on her now." Aiden's fingers dug into the floor, his nails scraping the tiles. He couldn't move. He wouldn't move. Everything inside him screamed against it. The twins cried again, louder this time, demanding attention, demanding life. Aiden's chest tightened, every breath a knife. He pressed their small bodies closer to his heart, rocking them, whispering their names over and over. He didn't know what names to give them yet. He just knew he would protect them, even if he had failed their mother. Minutes felt like hours. Every beep, every shuffle, every word from the doctors tore at him. "Come on, Maya. Come on. Please, please." His voice became a chant, a prayer, a mantra. The world had narrowed to this room, these lives, and the fragile heartbeat of the woman he loved. The monitor still glimmered, still fragile, still threatening to stop. Aiden clutched the edge of the bed, his forehead pressed to the cool metal frame. "I can't lose you. Not now. Not after everything," he whispered. The nurses moved the twins to a separate incubator temporarily. Aiden watched, heart shattering at every tiny sound they made. He wanted to wrap them in his arms, to shield them from the fear, the grief, the unknown. They were so small, so fragile, so innocent. The doctor turned, expression unreadable. Aiden's stomach tightened. He feared the words before they even reached his ears. He looked down at the babies, trying to draw courage from their cries, their presence, their stubborn will to live. And then it came. The doctor's voice, heavy, grave, unrelenting. "We saved the babies, but their mother." Aiden's breath caught. His knees buckled further. The twins' cries echoed like a fragile defiance against the storm of dread. The words hung in the air. Time stopped. Aiden's mind raced, spiraling into darkness. He couldn't see. He couldn't breathe. All he could hear was the beating of his own heart and the distant, tiny cries of his children. He pressed a hand to his face, shaking violently. "No, no, no." He repeated it over and over, a mantra, a prayer, a plea to the universe. He felt the tiny fingers of the twins curl into his hands, a spark of life amidst the storm, fragile, bright, demanding, innocent. He kissed the backs of their hands, whispering every apology, every promise, every confession. "I will take care of you. I swear. I will keep you safe. I will never let anything happen to you. Not like this." The doctors continued to work silently, efficiently, their faces unreadable. Machines beeped. Fluids ran. Every second stretched, elongated into eternity. Aiden fell to his knees again. He whispered prayers he didn't know he knew. He begged God, the universe, fate itself to let her live. Let her breathe. Let her see her children. Tears fell freely, soaking the sleeves of his suit, his hands shaking violently. His mind was a chaotic storm of love, regret, terror, and hope. The twins cried louder now, demanding life, demanding survival, demanding hope. Aiden's lips trembled, his hands shook, but he would not leave them. He would not falter. He would not let go. The room felt like it had narrowed to a single point, a point between life and death, between hope and despair, between what was lost and what might still be saved. The doctor stepped forward again. Aiden's heart leapt and crashed simultaneously, every muscle tensed. And then, the words. Words that struck him harder than anything he had ever. Aiden heard the doctor whisper, voice heavy with fear and caution. "We saved the babies, but their mother. We're not sure she'll wake up." Aiden didn't move from Maya's side. Minutes bled into hours, hours into days. The hospital room became his entire world. The twins slept in a bassinet beside the bed, wrapped in soft blankets, one red, one green, tiny fingers curling and uncurling. Every time their cries pierced the room, his heart skipped a beat. He held them, sang lullabies he hadn't known he could remember, whispered stories he wished Maya could hear. He fed them, coaxed them to sleep, and rocked them in a rhythm that matched the pulse of his own despair. The doctors checked in regularly, their faces a mixture of professionalism and pity. Aiden barely noticed them. All he saw was her still form lying pale on the bed. Her chest rose and fell shallowly, but every breath was a battle. Every second felt like a knife in his chest. He kissed her hand, soft and desperate. "I'm here. I'm right here. Don't leave me. His tears fell freely, streaking across his cheeks. He held her wrist against his lips, whispered apologies for every betrayal, every failure, every lost day. The twins stirred, tiny cries blending with the hum of machines. Aiden picked up the one in red, rocking the little body against his chest. "You're alive. Both of you are alive," he whispered. "Your mother will wake. She has to. We can't do this without her." The nights were the hardest. He sat in the plastic chair beside the bed, holding the babies, whispering every memory of her, every promise he ever broke, every vow he now intended to keep. Sleep eluded him. Every shadow, every beep, every movement in the room reminded him of what he could lose. He remembered the ring, the photograph, the blackmail, the betrayal. But none of it mattered now. Only her, only their children, only the fragile hope that she would awaken. Hours became days. On the fifth morning, the first light of dawn filtered through the blinds, spilling soft golden rays onto her face. Aiden hadn't noticed the sunrise in years, but now it illuminated the room with a quiet, gentle warmth. And then it happened. Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully, she blinked, confusion and pain mingling in her gaze. She tried to focus, and the first thing she saw was Aiden, hunched over, holding the twins, tears streaming freely down his face. She gasped, weak and raw. Her lips trembled. "Are they ours?" she whispered, barely audible. Aiden's voice broke, ragged with emotion. "Yes, yes, they're ours." He swallowed hard, choking back sobs. "Please, please give me one more chance. I promise. I'll never hurt you again. I'll never let anything come between us." Maya's hand moved weakly, trembling as she reached out. She touched his cheek, soft and tentative. Aiden bent closer, lips brushing her fingers, tears still streaming. "I've waited. I've prayed. I've begged," he whispered. "I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." The twins stirred, tiny fists punching the air, reaching for the warmth of their father. Aiden picked them up, one in each arm, holding them close. He whispered their names softly, names chosen in the quiet hours of fear and hope. Their cries softened as they nestled against him. Maya's lips curved into a weak smile. Her hand rested on his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heart beneath her palm. I believe you," she murmured, voice barely a whisper, but full of fragile hope. I forgive you. For now, we'll take it one moment at a time." He pressed his forehead against hers, eyes locked, tears mingling. The hospital room, sterile and cold, became a sanctuary of fragile newborn hope. Every fear, every tear, every heartbreak melted into this one perfect moment. Days passed, filled with quiet moments, soft lullabies, and shared laughter that had been absent for too long. Aiden and Maya navigated their fragile reunion, learning how to be a family, learning how to trust again. The twins thrived, their tiny hands and bright eyes a constant reminder of love's resilience. Aiden worked tirelessly, visiting doctors, arranging for help, and learning to balance the ruthless CEO persona with a father who would never let go again. Maya recovered slowly, each day stronger than the last. They shared quiet mornings, soft kisses, and tentative conversations about the past, but always with an eye on the future. Their future, their children's future. Hope grew slowly, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Every touch, every whispered word, every small laugh became a brick in rebuilding their fractured trust. Aiden learned humility, patience, and the weight of real love. Maya learned forgiveness, strength, and the power of protecting what mattered most. But just as the room seemed filled with peace, a shadow fell across the door. Aiden looked up, heart pounding, a premonition of something he could not yet understand. A figure stepped inside, familiar, unwelcome. The woman from his past, smiling, poised, pregnant. She held herself with confidence, the kind that spoke of secrets and unfinished business. Her gaze swept the room, landing on Aiden. "Congratulations," she said softly, a dangerous calm in her voice. "But Aiden, we're not done." Aiden froze, his chest tightened. Every lesson, every redemption, every tear felt suddenly fragile. Maya's hand instinctively moved to his arm, sensing the tension, the threat. The twins stirred in his arms, unaware of the storm about to re-enter their lives. Aiden's jaw tightened. He swallowed hard, guilt and determination warring in his chest. "Not now. Not again," he muttered under his breath. But the woman's smirk told him fate had other plans. Maya's eyes widened, fear mixing with curiosity. She tightened her hold on Aiden's arm, silently demanding protection, silently daring him to face whatever came next. The room held its breath. The future hung in balance. And Aiden realized that even after redemption, even after reunion, life had a way of testing love again. Final cliffhanger, separate. The woman stepped closer, hand resting on her belly, voice sharp and icy. "You thought it was over, Aiden, but it's only just begun."